So this is the Ferguson 3216 tape recorder, which has actually been around since 1968. And these tape recorders were very, very common in the day. When I got my first job as an apprentice technician, the first thing I did, this was 1969, first thing I did was I went out and bought myself a tape recorder, and it's still working fine today. Which is amazing really when you think it's, I don't know, 54 years old now. So I mean, if you look after these machines, they're built so well, they're amazingly built, so sturdy and very, very reliable. And if you look after them, they will continue to work. I should think, unlike a lot of stuff you probably buy in the shops today actually. When I bought this machine, it says I've still got the original leaflet. It cost me £64 and 39 shillings, which was a heck of a lot of money in 1969. I paid for it weekly, and I think it took me about 6 months to pay it. But you could also get, as you see on here, the stereo version of this machine, which was £91. In 1969, so that was well out of my reach at the time. But a few years ago I did buy the stereo version on eBay, so I've got both of them, and I'm going to be looking at the stereo one in another video because I've got a problem with the motor on it making a rumbling noise, so I'm going to attempt to replace it. But you'll find if you look on eBay, these machines, what's happening is people are dying that used to own them, I think, and they're being dragged out of lofts and being put on eBay for pennies because they don't work anymore. But the point is with these, if you know what to do to them, you can soon get them to work, and they actually sound amazing. So I'm going to strip this apart in a second and just show where the main maintenance points are on it. I mean, all you need to clean something like this is an air duster and tape head cleaner and a rubber cleaner. Apart from that, all you need is some contact cleaner to clean all the switches and everything, which I will show, and we'll see what we look like. But if you bought one of these machines on eBay, I guarantee you there'll be problems with it. Some problems, because most of them, as I say, have been left in lofts for God knows how long, and they'll be filthy dirty and parts will be seizing up on them. But with a bit of maintenance, you can achieve great results. So these tape recorders were made with a Perspex lid and teak cases from 1968 onwards. Prior to that, they were just in just ordinary cases. And lift up the Perspex lid. There's the machine. This is 4 tracks, 3 speeds, and to be honest, it still works fine now. You know, and we're going to take it apart and just show where all the points to clean are on them. They're actually made in wooden cases to match the Ferguson unit audio range, which consisted of amplifiers and floor standing loudspeakers, and I had those as well. Well, actually I've still got them. So the first thing to make sure of with these machines is that the tape heads are clean, and you can to do that, either use tape head cleaner or you can use methylated spirits. So that's where we see the record head. Sorry, that's the record head, and that's the erase head. And I've got some methylated spirits on this stick, which I'm going to just put in front of the head, rub it about, and make sure where you can see on the end of the stick here, you get oxide off of the tape accumulate on the head, and when it does that it muffles the sound. So always make sure that that head's clean, and also the erase head is clean as well. Yeah, I'm getting oxide off on there, definitely. See that? And the other thing is the capstan. This is the capstan which turns the tape, and that also gets a build-up of oxide on it. And that's actually easier to clean if you turn on the machine. It then starts to spin, and you can put your cotton bud in front of it, move it up and down like that. As you can see, take the oxide off of it. And there are 6 screws that secure the top of the machine to the chassis underneath, which I'm going to take out now, and then we'll have a look at other things to lubricate. And it's quite simple with that. You just pull off the knobs and take out the screws like that. Oh, that's a tight one. So, and the speed knob also needs to come off like that, and then you can take your screws out. These machines actually are now classed as vintage or retro. Anyway, I've taken the 6 screws out that hold the cover on, so I'm going to lift it away like that. And there's the chassis underneath. And it's always a good idea when you get to this stage, before you take it apart any further, you get a build up of debris around it, and it's best to get a bit of cloth and wipe all that debris away, and then you can release the 4 screws that hold this chassis in. This is the Thorn DC43 chassis. It's the same chassis in all the machines they made in the 1960s to the early 70s, and a very reliable chassis it is too. As well as Ferguson tape recorders, you will also find this Thorn chassis inside Ultra and HMV models as well. If you buy a machine like this off of eBay, common things to look for when you take the top off and get to this stage is checking that this drive belt is not broken or missing. That's the belt that drives this tape counter here. Unfortunately, spare parts are very difficult to get for these now. In fact, they've not really been available for years, but also need to check on these. Can you see the little brake pad on the end of that? The brake pads that actually stop the tape turntables here. When you press the stop button, there's a little brake pads there. Make sure they haven't come off. You can soon use something else in their place if they have. And again, also on the play record head here, there's a little pad that presses the tape into the head. Make sure that's not missing. And apart from that, it's really a case of just lubricating where you feel it needs it and cleaning where you think it needs it. I'm now going to take out the 4 screws that hold this chassis in, and actually there's a 5th screw also holding it in, which is at the rear of the machine where the input and output sockets are. So there's 5 screws to take out, and this will then lift out. So I've now lifted the Thorn DC32 chassis out of the machine and onto the table. It makes it a bit easier if you unplug the loudspeaker cables, give you a bit more room to move. But there are 2 points to remember here with this. Obviously make sure that the machine is unplugged, and also as you lift this chassis out, it's actually very heavy, and be aware of that. And also be aware that that's only a plastic fan on the motor there, and it can easily get broken, so be aware not to damage that. So I'm going to give the motor shaft a little bit of a spray with WD-40 in there. Always do that. Okay, now there are some switches that need attention on this machine, and as you look round the corner here, you can see over the back, I'll point to it with a screwdriver, there is a switch there, and that switch moves as you depress the play key on the machine, and the contacts get dirty on that. So that's going to need a little bit of contact spray on it. That's just ordinary contact cleaner. Okay, and then once you've sprayed it on, if you operate the play button on the machine and stop a few times, that will actually clean the contacts, because as I'm operating this, that's spinning round. Can't see it in the video very well, but take it from me. And then over this side of the chassis, you've got the on-off switch, and also the volume control, and the pickup connections for the microphone and everything else. So they also need the contact spray in them, because they've got a little wiper arm inside. You need to spray inside these. I'm not showing this very well, but anyway, you need to spray inside these and then move them backwards and forwards. Okay, just move them backwards and forwards, because if you don't do this, you'll either get crackling noises from them, or you'll get them not working at all, which isn't good. So just move them backwards and forwards, and then hopefully they'll work a lot better. These machines have actually got valves inside them for the amplification, and this was before they transistorized them around about 1970 time. I know the stereo version's all transistorized, but this machine has valves, but the sound is good. The other set of contacts that need cleaning in this are sliding contacts that operate when the record head is pressed. If you can see that moving there as I press the record button. So I'm also going to soak those with contact cleaner and then move it all backwards and forwards to make sure they're clean. So then it's just a case of looking around for anything else that obviously needs sorting out. There are various springs on this chassis that could get broken. It's just a case of doing a visual check and then putting it all back and giving it a try. But you have to be careful, because when I took this out, I managed to break the button, the reset button on the tape counter. Luckily I've got another one. Here's one I prepared earlier, so I'll whack that in. So there you go, I've put the other tape counter in now. And I've also changed this little bulb, which is just a 6-volt bulb for a new one, they're readily available. The old one was not looking very good at all. And apart from that, I've looked this over and I can't see anything else that looks particularly a problem. So we'll box it all up and give it a try. Yes, these machines actually, I forgot to say, also came with a lovely quality microphone with a remote stop on it, which was rather cool. So it's all back together now, and we'll give it a try now. I do remember from the 1960s, 70s that the main thing I used this for was the Alan Freeman chart show on Radio 1 on a Sunday afternoon, and I had quite a collection of those. So let's just have a listen to how it sounds.
On Radio 1 and 2, it's Pick of the Pops. Greetings, Poppickers. Here we go again. I'm heading Pick of the Pops today on BBC's Led Zeppelin.
Well, there you go. I'm happy with that. That's another service over. So that's the Ferguson 3216 that we've just been looking at. And here it is alongside its brother, the Ferguson 3232 stereo version of the machine. And there you go. Yeah, these machines actually can also be used standing up like this, if you prefer. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about these tape recorders, just leave them in the comments below.